Hi there and good morning. This is called I Can See for Miles, named after the famous song by The Who, and it follows the course of the intriguing game Tony Miles against Alexander Beliavsky, Tilberg, 1986. It's a Queen's Indian, d4, knight f6, c4 and e6. Knight f3 allows black to enter into the Queen's Indian with b6, rather than going for the counter fianchetto with g3. We see white plays more conservatively with knight c3, allowing the pin bishop b4, and white counter pins with bishop g5. Bishop b7, the fianchetto is met by e3, and now black wants to resolve this this annoying pin of the knight on f6. h6 drives the bishop back to h4, and g5, an aggressive move by black, hits the bishop, means that knight is no longer pinned and is free to wreak some havoc on the very important e4 square. So when the bishop drops back to g3, black has compromised his pawn structure on the king side. That g5 pawn will soon be a target, but black can stick the knight into the important e4 square. Now the threat is the capture on c3, so that's going to be defended by queen c2. Black plays d6, and after bishop d3 hitting the knight, here black will have to eventually probably trade on c3, so bishop takes c3 immediately, followed by b takes on c3. The knight is still being hit on e4, but that can be defended by f5. And in this common theoretical position, white will most usually play the thematic d5 push. And this has been played in this very position by Nakamura, Wang, and by Jakovenko. So after d5, black could play knight to d7, or e takes on d5, or could play the move preferred by Anand and Timon, knight c5. So after knight c5, now it's time for white to try and get at that g5 pawn and open attacking lines with this common move, h4. And this has been tried by Ivanchuk and Kasparov and by Tony Miles himself. Black's not going to want to open the h file for the rook. That will be suicidal, I think. So it's going to invariably cause black to play g4, hitting the knight, which can jump into the square vacated by the d pawn. Knight to d4. That's hitting, amongst other things, that's hitting the pawn on e6, so there's a capture threat, and queen f6 will defend it. Now, after white castles, there's serious weaknesses on black's pawns on e6 and f5, so knight takes on d3 is logical by black. After queen takes on d3, black's going to play e5, hitting the knight, giving up the pawn on f5. That's not going to be captured though by queen takes on f5. That's going to be good for black, because after queen takes f5, knight takes f5, the bishop drops back to c8, and the knight really doesn't have too many good places to go to, and that's going to give advantage for black. So if instead of queen takes f5, more correct is knight takes f5. This was played by Kasparov and by Miles. But now after bishop c8, the same idea hitting the knight, this is where Kasparov and Miles both departed. Kasparov played the inferior move, knight, which is going to be lost anyway, back to d4. More correct and winning was the move here played by Tony Miles, f4. That's going to open offensive lines, that's going to open up the f file, so happily giving up the knight. If bishop takes on f5, then e4. If queen takes on f5, we'll have the same idea, e4. After queen h5, now f takes on e5. White certainly has offensive lines open with a far superior position. After d takes on e5, we won't show you the rest of the game, because in the game itself, Miles played c5, which is still probably winning. More correct would have been d5, and all white's pieces are active, black is uncastled, underdeveloped and losing. And this is a clearly one position here for white. So this trap has been called I Can See for Miles in the Queen's Indian. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.